Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Szafranski, your host. If you want to contact us, I'd like to go over this right away. 1-800-344-2534. You can call us. If you'd like to email us, it's Corey@epsf.com. Corey@epsf.com. And of course, if you have a portfolio that you'd like us to look at, we do that for you. It's a service that we offer. It doesn't cost you anything to meet with us. I've never charged people to meet with me. Probably I should, but I don't. I want to give people access if they want it. And you can call here and ask questions. If you, let's say, for instance, you said, hey, this is what I want out of my portfolio, but you don't give us any other information, it's really difficult for us to give you an opinion because portfolios are situational. What do you need? What is your other financial situation like? So there's a lot of information that goes into managing money so that it meets a need. So if somebody came to us and said, we're a family office, we want you to manage the large cap portion of our portfolio, well, that's easy. We're going to buy large stocks, we could do that. But when it's a portfolio that's going to provide something for you like an income, we generally need a little bit of more information. So I just want you to prepare you for that. I also wrote a book. I don't know if you knew this about me or not, but I wrote a book called The Sin of Retirement. You can go to my website, sinofretirement.com. Corey's going to put that up for you, sinofretirement.com. And you can buy a hat. You can buy a shirt. You can buy a book. We have audiobooks. We sell a lot of books. I'd like you to have a copy of it. It's not going to hurt your brain to read it, I promise. And it's very functional. So I want you to read that book. I want you to know why I think it's a sin to retire, and if I think it's a sin to retire, or when it's a sin to retire. So I want you to look at those things. We also, as you know, we go to the Amazon, and we have opportunities to support the Amazon trips. For instance, there was a pastor, I think he was from Singapore, who was donating money every month for boat gas. And that pastor has retired. So there's an opportunity, if you want to take it, if you're looking for something to donate to, don't give me your lunch money. Don't not eat to give to us. Don't take from your home church to give to us. It's in addition to those things, but if you wanted to give to support their needs, gas in Brazil is expensive, and it's even more expensive where this little town is at, where they operate out of, called Maués. And so in order to go to these villages to support the work that we do there, they need gas money. And you'd be supporting gas money. So you can go to nativosusa.org, or you can call here, 1-800-344-2534, talk to Melissa about that. And if you go to the website, nativosusa.org, you give right there. So up to you how you do it. We'd love for you to go on a trip. We'd love for your church to experience it. We can organize a trip for your church. Who should go to the Amazon? Well, people who don't mind heat and humidity. And people say, well, are there a lot of bugs there? Actually, where we go on the river, there are not a lot of bugs, believe it or not. There's just not a lot. It's the river is a black river. It's very acidic, doesn't support bug life on the river. I have been on the brown rivers before, and there is a lot of bug life there. But where our mission is at, it's a black river, so you don't even take mosquito netting. I would take bug spray with you. I think that's a good idea. Snake repellent. No, I'm just kidding. I've never seen a snake there. But there are snakes there. I've just never seen one. So, but today was the first meeting. What I really want to talk about today, and this is going to be important for us. It's going to drive a lot of what we do over the next several years, and that is the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh. And what I want to do is, I've racked my brains to come up with like a catchy thing to call him, and I can't find anything. So I want to have a contest, and whoever wins the contest is going to get a book and a hat. And that is a funny name for Kevin Warsh that we can use. For Chair Powell, of course, I said, Chair Powell, because at his first press conference, somebody kind of did something similar to that. Of course, I embellished it quite dramatically. Some would say I'm a dramatic person, but I don't know. Am I, Corey? Yes, she says yes. What does she know? What do you know, Corey? Was that dramatic enough? So we need a funny name. You can email it to Corey. Kevin Warsh is his name. He's a new Fed chairman. I saw a little bit of his press conference. I read some stuff about it. He's very dry. He's not going to wow you with enthusiasm. I can tell you that right now. And that's probably okay for a Fed chairman. I don't want them to be overly dramatic or emotional or anything like that. I don't think he said anything in the press conference. Market's down since he had his press conference. But as expected, he did not raise interest rates. And I don't think he is going to raise interest rates. He talked about supply shock causing the inflation. And what is the supply shock? It's Iran. It's the Iran induced a supply shock and a terror premium to oil. What is the terror premium? The terror premium it's the price added to a barrel of oil that is really for people that have to say, well, what if there's an attack on a ship and oil skyrockets and that oil is already on the ocean? Well, we got to price it for that. So there's a terror premium put on a price of oil or any product that's got to come from that area. And so talking about the supply shock I think is wise, because I think that is why we have inflation right now. And that inflation isn't going to come down right away, even as oil is flowing and you see oil is going to probably be back in the 60s by, I'd say, July, maybe even in the 50s by July. It's entirely possible. I've talked about this fairly extensively about how what we have to do now, if this deal with Iran is real and the Straits of Hormuz are opened on Friday, then what you'll see is all the boats that are in the strait right now are going to leave. They're going to go deliver whatever they have on them, and then they're going to come back and they're going to reload, and they got to make that round trip. And then you have the cadence of shipping back, and that's really what needs to happen. It's not just about oil. It's about rare earths. It's about helium. It's about natural gas. It's about fertilizer. Think, well, we get a lot of nitrates, fertilizers from that area. They come through the strait. And so you've got increased oil, you've got increased price of nitrates and fertilizers. So that's kind of a double whammy on food. And once you get that flowing again, it might be too late for the food and the especially for summer crops for the fertilizer, but it's not too late for oil. And you can get prices down, fairly significantly, fairly quickly. But what you don't want to happen, like we saw this when house prices really skyrocketed, pandemic after the pandemic, and you're getting your house price skyrocketing 20%. Well, people bought at that time. So what you don't want to see happen is you don't want to see prices reset to 2019 because that would be deflation. And that locks people in their houses even more than inflation. So when the price of your house falls in value, you're not going to sell until the price goes over what you paid for it, because you don't want to have to bring a check to closing to sell your house. Now, it's different when you come to closing and you're buying a house and you're bringing a check for your down payment. But when you're selling your house, you want to make money off of it. And so what needs to happen now, and this is even from still the inflation of 2020, which was dramatically higher, you want wages to increase. Yeah, you want the price for bread, milk, eggs, cheese, and gasoline to fall, and those things will happen. Probably gasoline first. But what you want to happen is you want your wages to rise. So if inflation's we think it's going to be at 3.6% this year. Okay, that's high. I don't want it there. I want it lower. But when it goes lower, the way to really annihilate inflation is through wage growth. So inflation's at 2 or 1.7, wages are rising at 5, you're annihilating inflation. So in real terms, you're making more money every year. That's what you want to happen. That's what happened in Donald Trump's first term, and it's still possible for it to happen here because even through all of this stuff, the markets, the economy in general, they've been doing really well. They've been doing great. We went to war, and the market's higher now than when we started. So if the thing is real, and I believe it's real with Iran, now we're going to have this memorandum of understanding. They call it MOU. You see this a lot in business when companies are merging and things like that. 60 days to negotiate. Iran's giving up their nuclear hopes. We're going to go get that nuclear dust at some point in time. We're watching it like a hawk. Nobody's going in there. Nobody's going in there until we go in there. And then these things are going to happen. So the things that you're reading in the press about us paying Iran, they're wrong. Now, what do we want to see happen in Iran? Do we want to punish them endlessly? Well, no, we don't. We want them to stop trying to kill us. This is not a big ask, okay? It's like if there's a bully in the neighborhood and you say, well, would I prefer that they were like a functioning member of society? Yeah, I would. And that's what we would want for Iran. There's 91 million people in Iran. We wouldn't mind if they're like normal and contributing to society as a whole. Those things are okay. If they're willing to do those things and not be paying their proxies to kill Israelis and do all the other stuff that they do, well then we're all for it. Then we would invest in Iran. We would build this economy, allow them to participate, get wealthy. Are they going to be capitalists? I don't know. I don't even really care. What I care is that we get what we want and then we allow them to exist, as long as they're not trying to kill everybody around them. And a lot of people think, well, if they got a nuclear weapon, they're going to blow up Israel. I mean, they could do that. That's definitely true. But they hate the mullahs there. You got to separate Iran into two sections of people, the religious zealots and then the normal people. The people that aren't religious zealots, who, you got to wear a burqa, women can't drive, they have the morality police. The people that aren't those people, they just want to be normal and live their lives. That's who we're for. That's who we want to support. When we went back and bombed them last week, the first thing we did is we bombed the IRGC headquarters and we took out Karg Island. We didn't take out their oil infrastructure because that's where they make their money from. Would we if we had to? Probably. I don't think we're going to have to. Maybe they've seen the light. I don't know. We're going to find out in the next 60 days. But if it's real, I think we have another 20% in the market before the end of the year. If we continue on like we are right now, we probably have another 5-7%. And then there's going to be a few stocks that kind of still take off, like the chip manufacturers, things like that. But I think it would be a muted market. If it's not real and we go back to bombing, well, oil is getting to a place where it's starting to get constrained. And I think that would be a problem for the market. So I like what I heard from Kevin Warsh today. He's changing the Fed. He's going to change the way they do things. I think we need to change the Fed. I think that they made I don't know if it was purposeful. I believe it. They were trying to help the Obama administration. And when they didn't raise rates. And I think that was a strategic error on their part. And because of that, because of the things that they did and right before the election in 2024, I think Chair Powell is going to go down as a political animal. I think he's going to be looked at as just not a great Fed chairman. I mean, do we hate Chair Powell? No, we don't hate anybody. I just think he did a bad job. I think he did a poor job of managing two of the jobs that he has. He only has two jobs. And I know they conflated their mission and they creeped it all over the place, like with climate change and ESG and DEI. That is not the Fed's job. That stuff. So, as you know, climate change, ESG, DEI, LGBTQ, whatever, they're just forms of communism. They're forms of control. They're trying to make you do things that you don't want to do. They're trying to force an agenda on you that we don't want. And the Fed allowed that to happen inside the Fed, and Kevin Warsh is going to right that wrong. He's definitely going to right that wrong. And he's also going to get the Fed building finished, which I firmly believe that there should be an investigation about. They've spent $1 billion to remodel a building. They could have spent $500 million to build a new one. It doesn't make sense. It is kind of a beautiful building on the outside, kind of. Should it cost? Well, they're putting in a basement or something like that. Should it cost $1 billion or more? No. So should we look at it? Well, I think everything should be looked at. I think everybody's balance sheet in public life should be public. For instance, when you're a U.S. Senator and you're making $147,000 and somehow you're worth $100 million and you've never done anything else, I think somebody should know how you did that. Yes, I do. I care way less about Elon Musk's wealth, a trillionaire now. I think this is the only place you can become a trillionaire, and we should celebrate that. What we shouldn't celebrate is somebody like Elizabeth Warren being worth as much as she is on $147,000. How did she do that? That is, her investment record must be spectacular. So Warsh is going to change things. I like that. I think it's time for a new Fed. I also think it's time for, and I know people aren't going to like this. Well, maybe you're not going to like it. I don't know. The Fed doesn't need to explain everything. I remember the days of Alan Greenspan where we had to guess at everything, and I think that's pretty good. I don't mind that at all. I think when you talk a lot, especially as the Fed, things get interpreted 1,000 different ways. Just don't talk as much. I think that's okay. In fact, I think it's great to not talk as much. So I like what I heard today. I'm glad he didn't raise interest rates. I knew that there was 0% chance that he was raising interest rates today. They meet again in 6 weeks. There's also 0% chance they're going to raise interest rates at that meeting. And I still think that you're going to get a rate cut this year. I still think it's happening. I think mortgage rates will be around 5% sometime next year. And I'm looking forward to that. I think rates should be lower, but it's really hard to lower rates into a rising interest rate environment. It's just really hard. It would be hard to justify that right now. And that's why we need to end the Iran thing as quickly as possible. I wish we would have done it through force, actually. That's how we should have done it. I'm not in charge. I don't have all the information. I think it would have been better had we forced them into submission. It's always better to get a white flag raised by your enemy than come to the table. But more people would have died. We put our people at risk. I'm okay with this. Let's get it over with. And I think if it's real, we've got 20% more in the market this year. And remember my website for the book, sinofretirement.com. I am David Szafranski. Oh, by the way, last week I was in Alaska. That's why I didn't have the podcast last week. Every American should see Alaska at least once. It really is beautiful. The people are awesome up there. There's a very short period of time where there's actual summer. It's like between May and September, something like that. On Lake Erie, I think September's the greatest month because the water's warm, it's beautiful, the sunsets are great. But in Alaska, it starts to get cold. They were telling me that this winter was particularly harsh. It was minus 30 for 2 weeks. Could you imagine? I got to tell you, I don't think I could live there. I just don't think I could do it. Could I do it? Yeah, if I had to. Would I want to? No. I don't like minus 30. I don't like 0. So I'm not going to like minus 30. I'll like that 30 times less. I am David Szafranski, a real American, a true red-blooded patriot, and the voice you can trust.